Hi there, Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and I want to talk about 13 common mistakes that people make when trying to clean their home. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm not someone who absolutely loves cleaning. I would much rather organize all day long and declutter, but cleaning's not my jam. But it is something that we all need to do, and it's going to go better if you avoid these 13 mistakes. And make sure you listen up for number 6, because this is the one out of all of them that has been the biggest game changer for myself personally, and people that I've shared it with both online and in my real life has told me that it has really been helpful to them. So you'll want to listen up for that one. Now, these tips are really in no particular order. I'm just going to throw them all out there. Number 1, I think I put as number 1 just because it's really common, and that is getting distracted with another cleaning, organizing, decluttering task while you're still working on the first thing. And I think myself, and I'm probably sure that many of you are guilty of this. So, you're trying to, for example, just do a routine cleaning of your bathroom, and then you remember that under the sink, this is me, real life, has just some extra junk under there. So then you start pulling all of that out and you start sorting and organizing that. Meanwhile, you still haven't cleaned the toilet, and then you run out of time, and now you got a whole big mess of stuff out, and you haven't really accomplished anything. So staying on task is really, really important. And that does not mean that I have to say, oh, I'm not going to clean under my bathroom sink, I'm not going to organize that, or something like that. Instead, I like to make sure that I have a place handy where I can actually write down or input, if you prefer digital, input into your phone whatever comes up while I'm cleaning. And that kind of helps my mind from feeling just kind of compelled to go there, because this really happens to me a lot. And so that way I feel like I've captured it. I know I need to do that. I'm going to finish this first. And if you have extra time, you can tackle that. But staying on task is really important. Another mistake that a lot of us make is not cleaning in the right order. And for years, I cleaned and I didn't realize that there even was a right or a wrong order to clean in. But you should always clean from top to bottom, because as you dust and you clean, things tend to kind of come downward. And so, for example, if I am going to clean my kitchen and I have a bunch of junk, especially food junk, like flour, I've made cinnamon rolls or something that need rolled out on my countertop, I'm going to clean that countertop off before I sweep, vacuum, mop, because as I'm cleaning the countertop, even if I'm pretty careful, inevitably some of that food stuff is going to end up on the floor, and that's really annoying if I've just cleaned the floor. So it doesn't matter if you're in the bathroom, in the kitchen, just always clean from top to bottom. And kind of like a bonus tip here is that it is best if you go in the same order every time, because your brain will get used to that, and you're gonna not waste that time with indecision, and you'll be more efficient if you just always do things in the same order. And number 3 is not using the right tool. So using the proper tool for the cleaning job can make a world of difference. Now, I don't like to go out and buy super specific tools for every single job, because then you're going to end up with too much stuff. But certain jobs require certain tools. One of my favorite tools is a magic eraser. So if you have something that is really stubborn, just switching from a regular sponge to a magic eraser, for example, is going to make all the difference. And if you're using wrong tools, or even tools that are worn out, you need to switch things out ever so often, like your mop head is not going to last you for 12 years, for example. If you are keeping those maintained, it is going to require less work to clean, and I am all for that. Number 4 mistake is waiting too long between cleanings. So really and truly, you're almost going to do more work if you wait too long. So if I have not cleaned my toilet for, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to be a lot harder than if I cleaned it every week. Even if I'm not super detailed and thorough every week, it's going to be so much easier. So just waiting too long means that the dirt and grime has built up. It's going to take even longer. And I have also found that when I wait too long, the dread factor increases, because every day that goes by, it's getting worse and worse. And then my feelings about having to clean it are getting worse and worse. And we just get in this compounding spiral of me trying to put it off because it's getting worse. And if I just go ahead and do it on a regular routine basis, then it never gets quite as bad, and I'm just more used to doing it. I don't have to have that like dread factor. Next up, as I just said that waiting too long is a mistake, here's another mistake, kind of the opposite, is cleaning too often. So yes, I personally believe there is such a thing as cleaning too often. So if I were to dust every day, it's not gonna be any less work than it would be to dust once a week. So I would wanna make sure that you're not cleaning, that you're cleaning enough that it's not getting worse, but that you're not doing unnecessary work, especially in unnecessary work in one specific area. So if you're cleaning something more often that needs to be cleaned, you could put that energy toward cleaning something that really does need it. So you're just gonna, in essence, want to make sure that you're spacing it out properly. And number 6, which has been the biggest game changer in my life and many others have told me, is your mindset when you are cleaning. 95% of the time, you are not trying to get an A+. You are trying to do a C level job. And let me tell you, when I finally realized that, it changed the entire game for me, because I tend to be naturally a little bit more of a perfectionist, and if I'm gonna do something, I am gonna do it. And so whenever I would go to clean anything, let's say I was vacuuming my stairs, and stairs can be a high traffic area, so I would just try to vacuum them. This should take like 3 minutes, right? But then here's what would happen. I would start vacuuming the steps, and then I would notice that the railing has a little groove, kind of like the bottom, I don't know what you call that, but the wood at the bottom had like a little groove, and it would get dusty. So then I would feel like I would need to dust it. So I'd get out the duster and I would go dust it. And then I would be like, but it's not like thoroughly clean, like there's a little bit of grout that has a spot. So then I would go get a cleaning rag and I would just like detail clean that, or like a toothbrush type thing to really detail clean that. And so my cleaning the steps, which should have taken 3 minutes, literally turned into 35 minutes. I was also frustrated because I was noticing every little speck of dirt, and it wasn't like 100% white and perfect. And I'm thinking, do I really need to re-grout? And so it's like I'm trying to get an A+, a 100% on the job, when really, and what that ends up doing is it means that I do it way less often, because now I have a huge dread factor. Every time I clean the steps, it takes me like an hour. I feel really frustrated, and so now I go a year between cleaning the steps. That means when people come over, they actually do look fairly dirty and dusty. Instead, it's better to do that task once a week or every other week. Take 3 minutes to do it quickly, try to do a C job, and then you'll be able to get it done quicker and with less pressure and anxiety, especially if you are a perfectionist like myself. So that is my number 1 tip. And when you tell yourself, I literally even say this out loud or say this in my head, I want to do it such that it would get a C. It would be acceptable, but it's not anything above acceptable. I do it so much more quickly, efficiently, and I feel satisfied because I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a C job there. Number 7 mistake is just using too many products, whether that be cleaning products or cleaning tools. It can get overwhelming and you have to store all of these tools. So when possible, I do like to use some multi-purpose tools, some tools that I can use in different places, and cleaners where the same cleaner can be used for multiple things. So I have one multi-purpose cleaner that is safe to use on all my surfaces. It's fairly mild. I really like the scent. And so anytime something needs to be sprayed down, whether it's a desk, whether it's a piece of furniture that I'm dusting that needs a little bit of extra work, a countertop, a tabletop, I can just use the same thing. And that also allows you to make like a little cleaning kit if you want to that can go around the house with you, and you don't need like 25 bottles in there. Next up, while you don't want to use too many cleaning products, you also don't want to use the wrong products. And in this category, I also include using products that you don't love, because there have been times where somebody has recommended something, or something's all the rage, like use this essential oil that's really great, and I don't love the smell of it. Like, I guess I have a thing for wanting it to smell clean, and in my brain there are certain smells that smell clean, and this one just isn't it. And so go ahead and use products that you love, and especially when it comes to the smells. Everybody just has their own opinions, so make sure that you're using something where you love to smell and it's going to feel and smell clean to you and your family. Now, I know a lot of people are trying to get away from as many different substances in their cleaners and going towards something that is more natural. And if that is you, and scent is a big deal for you, what you can do is try to go a little bit more gradually toward that new scent and see if you can get yourself to think in your head, this is clean, because I just think smell can affect how clean that you feel it is, and you want to get done with that cleaning and be like, oh, I feel accomplished. And in addition to that, not just things that you love, but make sure you're not using the wrong cleaner. So the first thing that can happen is you may just have to do more work than you really need to do if you're not using the ideal cleaner for the job. And in addition to that, even worse is it is possible when using the wrong cleaners to damage a surface. So like on a nice wood piece, there's certain cleaners that might damage it. So you would always want to start with a small inconspicuous surface. Make sure you're reading those labels. That's also why if you have fewer cleaners, it's easier to not get mixed up and you don't have to read as many labels, but make sure you're reading those labels and using those cleaners for their intended purposes. Mistake number 9 is just not having a plan. So not putting your home on a maintenance plan like you might put anything else on. It needs a plan, and it doesn't as much matter what specific plan it is as long as there is a plan. There are a lot of different cleaning plans out there that you can find online. You can create your own, but the idea is that you have a plan that is achievable for you to follow, that you feel good about. Now, if you're like, I'm not really sure where to start with this, and I know I want something that's pretty basic and simple, I highly recommend our Organized Home Manual. We literally do the thinking for you, and we've made the entire plan for you. So I'll go ahead and link that down below if you want a good starting point for making your plan. But the bottom line is, no matter what, make sure you do have a plan that you follow. Number 10 is overusing cleaning products. Now, I will tell you, the people most guilty of these are kids. When I give my kids a spray bottle, they love to go spray that thing. Now, I don't want to just discourage your kids from cleaning. What I kind of do there is sometimes I put water with just a tiny bit of essential oil that's fairly diluted in there. So it's very safe. I know they're not going to harm themselves, and I know that they're not going to harm the surfaces because they're just going to go a little crazy with the spray. But also for yourself, make sure that you're not spraying too much of a product or placing too much of a product, because that can all actually create more work for you in the long run. It can make it more wet, it can make it more streaky and harder to clean. So make sure you're using just enough. Also, it's a little bit wasteful. Like, your cleaning product will go longer if you use the minimum amount that is still effective. Number 11, and I think this is a really big one for most of us, is neglecting to declutter or tidy up first. So if I'm trying to clean my kitchen, but there's a stack of papers here and a random thing over here, and I'm trying to wipe down my counters, it's just more work. I have to either clean around it or lift it up and put it back down, something like that. So cleaning and tidying up first is always the way to go. And this is also my belief that if I only have a few minutes, my home is going to look better if I do the declutter and tidying than it is if I do the actual cleaning. So I'm always going to start there. And then step number 2 is cleaning. Now, I'll also say, if you feel like you just have a lot of clutter and you're not alone, there's tons of people in this situation, that it's not a matter of just like spending 20 minutes tidying up, but it's a matter of like you literally just have too much stuff. Here's what I would recommend that you do. I want you to still tidy up whatever does have a home. I know you've got a lot of things that don't have a home, but if it does, go ahead and tidy that up, and then do the general cleaning on the spaces that are not full of clutter. So still wash your dishes, wipe down your countertops, clean your bathrooms, things like that, but don't worry about the deep cleaning in an area until you have it decluttered. So I'm not going to go, if an area is just full of clutter and I can barely get to the window, that is not the time that I'm going to wash the windows, which I consider a deep cleaning task, or wipe down the baseboards. Instead, I'm going to declutter that stuff before I try to do any additional extra deep cleaning in that space. Number 12, another mistake I see is people using the same cloth or sponge for everything. There's a lot of problems with that. Number 1, it's just a little bit icky and can spread germs. So you're going to want to have designated cloths for different purposes. Like, I am not going to want to wipe down the toilet seat with a cloth and then go use that in the sink, or the knobs that we touch to turn the sink. That's just icky. So what I like to do is I have a favorite microfiber cloth that I get on Amazon. I get them in packs of I think 20, even more. They're very cheap and they come in different colors. So I can kind of color code my cleaning cloths, and I can say the blue cloths are for the toilet. So we only ever use a blue cloth on the toilet. And then, you know, the orange cloths are for sinks. We only use them on there, so that way we're not cross-contaminating. And I know it's probably fine if you do go ahead and wash the cloth, it probably gets it all clean, but in my head, not good enough. We're just designated different colors for different cloths. And I love these cloths because they're really nice, they're effective, they last a long time for me. But if something just gets totally grotesque, I don't feel too bad about throwing it away because they're so affordable and I can color code everything. Number 13, last but not least, and this is probably the one that has cost me the most money over the years, is not maintaining your cleaning products. So like your vacuum cleaner, your mop, these things need maintenance. Some things need to be switched out. You're supposed to clean even your dishwasher. You know, they have these little packets you can buy so it's not like scrubbing it down in your washing machine ever so often. These are all good ideas. The ones that has cost me the most money though is your vacuum cleaner. So if you have anyone in the home with long hair, and this is shorter than my hair usually is, you're gonna wanna definitely do this. So hair, or if you sew, thread, and things like that are going to get caught around that brush in your vacuum cleaner. And if you don't clean out that brush very regularly, and I will tell you, for people like myself with long hair, my daughter also has fairly long hair, it really needs to be done after each use, but at a minimum once a week. Once a month, every 3 months, not often enough. Because the hair will start to get around the brush, and then your vacuuming is far less effective. So you're just doing more work than you need to do. And then what'll happen is it'll get caught in the little corners, and it's really working against the motor that's powering it. And I've had 3 vacuum cleaners where I got lazy, I didn't do this step of cleaning out the hair, and the motor's burnt out, and I very much believe it is because I let the hair stay on there too long and it just burns the motor out. So you're gonna wanna make sure you maintain these. I also will give you this little tidbit here. I watch a lot of vacuum cleaner reviews, and I have heard tell that there are some newer and better vacuum cleaners out there now that are supposed to self-clean the hair. A couple people have told me it actually does work, so if you have one of those, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious if they actually work. Now, if you're interested in keeping a clean home, I'm gonna guess that you also wanna keep an organized home, and I highly recommend that you go watch my video, 7 Habits of Organized People, so you can also learn how to stay organized.